Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This week I was planning on doing a Q&A, but we're gonna do something a little bit different this week. I've noticed a few different channels do videos like this. Basically, they ask their viewers to submit their assumptions that they've made about them, like tell them what kind of assumptions they've made about them in the past or what they've been assuming about their lives, like whether they haven't addressed it specifically in a video or they've just been connecting some dots in their head. I feel like that's human nature. It happens all the time, but YouTubers don't always address every assumption made about them. And it's definitely a big part of YouTube generally. Like obviously, if you're just sharing like 20, 30 minutes of your life every week, you're not showing your life. Like there's a lot left out. There are a lot of things that aren't completely cleared up. And it's just kind of impossible to share every single thing about yourself and your life and your history and whatever else. And so assumptions are made. That is okay. Sometimes it's not a good thing. Sometimes it's fine. I feel like I've gotten very lucky with my viewers. You guys are so sweet to me and so kind. There was part of me that was like, should I do this? But there's another part of me that I was just like too curious. And I feel like there are a lot of assumptions made about me. And I really liked reading the assumptions you guys sent me on Instagram. I just posted it as a question on my Instagram story and I got a lot of responses. And I'm gonna do my best to address all of those, the big ones, the hard-hitting ones. This is gonna get real and this is gonna get deep and I'm a little scared. But then again, not really. I feel like you guys get me and I appreciate it so much. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, I would appreciate if you subscribe to my channel. If you're here and you're already subscribed, thank you so much. You army people, I love you. Let's get into this. There are so many. Where do I begin? Let's do this one. Let's ease in a little bit. You're bad at cooking because you never truly made an effort before meeting Grant. I'm taking this opportunity to be an open book and I'm gonna tell you like it is. And that is absolutely true. I pretty much never put a priority on learning how to cook. And I actually wouldn't say I'm a bad cook or I'm bad at cooking because really it all comes down to practice and just trying it, just like making an effort. Oh my gosh, it just got so dark. Let me just say as a side note, the lighting in this video, I cannot stand behind it and I am so sorry about it and I'm sorry if it's annoying to you and just know it's a million times more annoying to me and I'm sorry, but the weather is crazy today. Anyway, so I always kind of said in all of the years where I never learned how to cook and I was kind of like making excuses for myself, I was like, I could learn to cook at any time. I know how to read. You know, obviously I was kind of joking. There's a lot more to cooking than reading. Essentially, it does just take time and effort, and I never put those things in. So I don't necessarily think I'm bad at cooking. I'm just very inexperienced. And you know what? Whataburger has tasted pretty good for the past 20 years, so I don't regret it. No, I kind of regret it, but I'm glad I'm starting now. Okay, here's another one that's like easing into it. I think you seem like you're more introverted than your online persona would let on. That is absolutely true. Your assumptions are correct. I'm definitely an introvert. I feel like I've talked about that on my channel before, not like made a video about it because I don't think it's like a groundbreaking thing. There are a lot of introverts and I think there are a lot of introverts that have YouTube channels and are on social media a lot. The reality of the situation is I'm in a room by myself and it takes a lot of solitary hours. This is kind of a pretty lonely thing to do. I'm talking to a camera and yes, you have to like email with people and you have to work with different people at different times, but largely you're your own team. You're working on it by yourself. And that does work for me. I do like working with other people as well. Basically, I think the traditional assumptions about introvert and extrovert almost don't apply for social media because on social media, you're like sitting by yourself alone in a room. It's not like you're at a party or like being some charismatic public speaker, you know what I mean? So definitely an introvert. Oh, this one also has something to do with the whole introvert thing. I assume your Myers-Briggs is INFP. Am I right? Yes, you are right. Have I mentioned that in a video? I feel like it's kind of crazy for you to just guess that, but yes, I am. You guys know me better than I thought. Okay, next, this one definitely gets a little deeper. You don't let people get too close. I would say that assumption is correct. It's pretty much been true my whole life. I definitely have people that are close to me and I let them in, but I do tend to have walls up and I tend to protect myself. And I think that that's due to a lot of different things that happened as I was growing up, a lot of things that you guys don't know about and I've never talked about in my videos or on my channel or anywhere really, for a million reasons. Like, it's hard for me to even begin to list the reasons why, but at the same time, there have been so many times through the years, because I've been on YouTube for about 35 years, that I've wanted to share that story and I've wanted to explain like everything that makes me me. But there are a lot of things that hold me back because I just get worried about not telling the whole story, not telling it right. Because honestly, even being at the age that I am, I feel like I haven't fully processed it, which probably sounds crazy. And I know that this is kind of annoying that I'm like saying, oh, there's this whole big story, but not telling you the whole big story. I feel like the whole big story needs to be like its own video, or honestly, I've thought in the past it needs to be like a book. And I'm not a writer. Like, I don't even know where to begin. I feel like I've lived 100 different lives, not 100, but maybe like 3. And I know that once you put something out there into the world, like with everything, there are a lot of assumptions made, and I don't want to put out part of the story or something and then have people like make all these decisions about you. And there's also part of me that's like, you know, I don't want to be defined by this or that. I want to be me, and I want to be me right now. You know what I mean? Oh, here's a random one. You never get fuming mad. That is incorrect. I do get really mad, and it's so weird to me. I got a bunch of different messages that said basically that, but in different words. I am an emotional person, and I wouldn't get extremely mad in a situation like, oh, you're at the grocery store and they don't have the flavor Jell-O you want. But in a situation that's like with someone that's close to me, it's not that I get angry at them, but if I'm upset about something, I don't make it a secret. Like, I don't bottle things in. Like, I am all about talking about things, and I want things out there, you know? And so if I'm feeling upset or angry about something, I'd rather fix it by talking about it than putting it in the back seat and then having it later come up. I get mad, but I don't hold a grudge. You know what I mean? Like, I get over things. Oh, here's one that's about my family. You're the black sheep between you and your sisters. This is an interesting question. I wonder why someone would assume that, but I would say no. I'm definitely not the black sheep in the way that I think of a black sheep. I think a black sheep's like, oh, you don't fit in with us. We don't like you. And like, you get shunned. That's definitely not the situation, but in a way, we were very different growing up. Like, my older sister and my younger sister were very like super high achievers, getting all A's, graduating at the top of their class, like winning at life, like total admiration for both of them. I kind of wish I had gone down that road, but I definitely did not. I went the scenic route. I made some turns along the way, if you know what I mean, and I like to have fun. And even then, I don't think I was like the black sheep. I was not shunned or anything, but in that way, I was definitely different. But now, I mean, we all survived. We're all thriving at this point, so that's really good. So I can kind of see where you're coming from, but at the same time, I don't really think I am. Okay, actually, this one sort of feels like it ties in. You had some wild, rebellious, nightmarish teenage years, and that is absolutely true. So, like I said, they were all like good girls coming up, making all the good grades, and I was just like crazy. And that definitely started more when I was like in my teen years. I just did not have it together and was definitely not prioritizing the right things. And I like to party, and if you can imagine just like everything bad a teenage girl can do, I did that. I mean, not everything. I don't really want to incriminate myself. Is that fair? But yes, I definitely had some very wild teenage years. I'm surprised I'm alive. Is that weird to say? There were definitely years where I honestly did not believe that I would live to 30. I know that's like a very dark thing to say, but that is the honest truth. I did not feel like I was going to like grow up, and it's actually miraculous that I did, and it's amazing, and I like never say sorry to my parents enough and never thank my parents enough for sticking with me and not giving up on me. They were hard on me when they needed to be hard on me, but they also didn't let me completely like drop off the earth. You know what I mean? Obviously, I've changed a lot. I want to live. I made it past 30, and what's really weird is one of the big pivot points in my life was starting YouTube. It's just crazy how much it's been a part of the change in my life. Like, the person I am today is so insanely different than the person I was like 10 years ago. Part of me would like to write an apology to every single person that knew to me at that point, but especially my parents. It was really bad, but I can say it gives me the ability to look at other people and know that change is possible. I don't regret everything I went through and everything I did, all the bad choices that I made, because it made me who I am today. And I've seen it all, I'll just say that. Okay, here's one that's about YouTube. You don't have many YouTube friends because you've always been a little different than the gurus. I see where you're coming from, and I kind of feel like your assumption is true, but at the same time, I don't know. I feel like I can get along with most people. So I feel like the biggest difference between me and like the gurus, like the big channels, not that I'm a big channel at all, but I live in Texas. So obviously I don't live in LA or New York or one of those places where there's a ton of YouTubers that get together all the time and go to the events and stuff like that. I feel like I probably would get along with them. At the same time, I do feel like I'm very different. I don't know. I do have YouTube friends though. I don't want to make it seem like that. And I really appreciate those friendships because being on YouTube is a weird world. It's a weird experience, and having somebody that gets that experience, somebody that you can talk about those things with and they'll really understand, that's a very valuable thing to have. But I've also never been a person that's like seeking out YouTube friendships so I can like do collabs and grow my channel, because that is one of the ways that you can really grow your channel really fast. It's just like collab with people, collab. And there's nothing wrong with that for the people that want to do that. But for me, I just never wanted to make a video with somebody that I wasn't friends with for real. That was a whole lot of answer. Hopefully it made sense. Okay, next up, this is kind of like a fluffy, fun one. I just had to answer it. You had at least one piece of inflatable furniture and a clear phone growing up. You are half correct. I did have a piece of inflatable furniture growing up. I think it was from Limited 2, and it was a completely clear like armchair kind of. It was low to the ground, but it had purple feathers inside. So you blew it up and there was just all these feathers in there when you moved it around or shook it or something, which I don't know why you would shake a chair, but whatever. It had purple feathers and they would float around in there. I don't even know how I convinced my mom to buy that for me. It was the most ridiculous thing, but part of me wishes that I still had it. And for the second part, I did not personally have one of those clear phones, but those were so cool. They would actually light up when it would ring, and my sister had one. But when I was growing up, especially when my older sister was a teenager and I was younger, she actually had her own home phone line, and it was before like everyone had a cell phone, so she needed her own phone line so we could still like use the internet and everyone else could still use the phone. So we had two phone lines in our house. Thinking back on that, that seems really strange to me, but that was just how people did things. Okay, there were a bunch of questions about my previous job. You worked in a digital marketing agency and content marketing department. Wasn't sure. Heart you. Okay, heart you back. That's mostly true. I did work at a digital marketing agency and I was the head of the social media team, and it was a really small office, so it's not like, oh, I was in charge of like 50 million people at all. I don't want to make it seem like that, but that was technically my title while I was there, and I had a lot of fun doing that, and it made sense for me to be doing this and that at the same time. But yeah, that is what I was doing. A lot of internet all the time. Okay, here's another one that was about my job. I could be wrong, but I assumed that you had a hard time quitting your job for YouTube. Yes, that is very true. Well, it's kind of half true, and I'll explain. It was definitely very hard for me to leave my job, but I didn't leave my job for YouTube. I left my job because I was leaving to get married and move to Dallas. And yes, my job was a lot online and I could work remotely, and I did work remotely a lot, but I still had to meet clients, go into the office all the time, go to meetings, all of that business. So I did have to be in person a lot. So it just really wasn't practical for me to try to keep that job and move to Dallas. But I just have a really hard time quitting things in general. And when I have a responsibility, I just feel that very, very deeply. And even though the job was not the right place for me for probably a really long time before I actually left, I was just hanging on to all the good things about it, because there were a lot of good things, and I definitely don't want to slam that job or anything like that, because it was really good to me. They were really supportive in certain ways and flexible in other ways and stuff like that. And it was mutually beneficial in a lot of ways. But I definitely should have left a long time before I did, but I didn't. It's great that I'm so loyal, but at the same time, sometimes I cheat myself by staying in situations for too long when it's not good for me, basically. Like, for so many years that I've been doing YouTube, I've basically had no life. So it's always like multiple jobs, school, YouTube, until just the middle of last year. There were also a lot of questions that said that I seemed like I was restless without a 9-to-5 job, and that is definitely also true. I don't know what it is about me, but I have worked forever. I've always had multiple jobs. This is the least amount of jobs I've ever had in my life, and I kind of don't know what to do with myself. And that does not mean that I'm not busy. I've definitely gotten a lot more into my videos and put a lot more time into my videos just because I have more time, but there is a part of me that feels restless. Right now, I'm not looking for another outside job, but I'm not saying that that's not a possibility. So yes, the restlessness is there, but I'm not exactly sure where I'm gonna go with it at this point. Okay, next, this is another one that definitely goes pretty deep. I assume that, like me, you suffer from some sort of anxiety and or depression. And then she had a second one and says, P.S. not because you seem anxious or depressed in your videos, but just by some things you say and like. Yes, that is true. But right now, I'm okay. I definitely deal with anxiety, but generally, it's not something that stops me from doing the things that I want to do in life. This might sound crazy to some people, but I feel like some of you will understand. Sometimes hormones will play a part in it and weigh up the anxiety to the point where I do kind of get stopped from doing the things that I want to do in life. But I don't deal with major depression. But there was a time when I did. I took antidepressants from like age, I want to say 16 to maybe about 22. I started to get off of them. I took a few different ones through all those years, but that is like a big chunk of my life that I was medicated for anxiety and depression. I do have a lot of thoughts about that whole situation. It was a big part of my life. It's crazy that I haven't talked about it until now, but I also feel like everyone and their dog has made a video about their anxiety and depression, to the point where I know this is very cynical. There's part of me that's like, are they just doing that for views? Are they just doing that to be relatable? You know what I mean? I know that's cynical. I know. But I just felt like, you know, I don't need to be another person making one of those videos. And I completely support more visibility for mental health and all of that, and for people recognizing that as a legitimate issue and respecting people and their struggles and all of that. I don't know. It just never felt to me like it was a right time to tell that story. Sometimes I'm just like, well, you know, let's just move on with life. You know what I mean? It's interesting to me that at this point, you guys see that in me. I feel like it's kind of obvious that I have anxiety about certain things, especially like social anxiety in some situations. For some reason, I want to apologize. I want to say that I'm sorry that I never talked about that before, because I know that since I've been on YouTube for so long, part of me feels like I'm hiding things from you if I don't talk about it. But at the same time, it's a real thing. That was a big chunk of my life. And yes, it is something that I deal with to a degree now. But I definitely feel like I've moved beyond it in a lot of ways, and I'm happy about that, and I'm thankful for that. And yes, I do still deal with some levels of anxiety, but I know it could be worse, and I've seen worse. Okay, here's a more light and fluffy one. You and Grant only communicate through witty banter. That is incorrect, because we only communicate through memes and funny, weird pictures we find on Instagram, and that's it. That's all we've got. Okay, here's another one that was a trend. I got a lot of questions about politics and about political beliefs. And you guys know I kind of don't go there on YouTube and social media. Okay, mainly because I feel like people get pushy in that situation, and I don't like to be pushed. Like when people come at you and they're like, kind of bullying you or pushing you into a corner, like, you've got to answer these questions. There is that rebellious teenage LeighAnn in the back of my head that will never go away, that I'm just like, you're not my real mom. I didn't ever want to go down that road because I feel like it's a messy, messy road. But here's this question. Sorry to do this, but I assume you voted for Cruz. No, I didn't. Okay, next, here's one. I feel like this person was really trying to like cut me deep, but little do they know, it doesn't matter. It's just 2 words and it says kinda vapid. And I don't know. I don't even know how to respond to that. And I even, like, when I took the screenshot, I don't know how to respond to that. But I just thought it was kind of funny that someone actually submitted that, because I feel like it's something that anyone could say about anyone that's on social media, especially when your content is like, look at my outfit, look at this makeup I bought, which is generally the stuff that I do. And at the same time, I'm like, there's no way I could sit here and be like, that's not true. I'm really deep, y'all. Like, that should probably be my new Twitter bio. What do you think? Okay, next one. This one is interesting. Assumption about Grant. I'm not sure if I'm qualified to answer an assumption about him, but I'm going to. He wants you to be a stay-at-home mom and take care of you and your kids. Heart. I really don't think this question was coming at me in like a mean-spirited way at all, but sometimes some of these assumptions I was just like, where did that come from? I will say, from past discussions we've had, he would definitely be supportive of me if I chose to stay at home with future children. That feels so weird to say. At the same time, he would absolutely support me if I decided to have a 9-to-5 job or do a job that wasn't YouTube when I have kids. And we've talked about that. Like, he's just super supportive in any way. Okay, here's another interesting one. I assume you and Grant have a large chunk of debt. I love y'all so much. Sorry if that's mean. I'll lie. It's not mean. I totally asked for it. It's okay. We don't. Well, I just almost did not tell you the full truth. We do, actually. We don't have any like credit card debt, all of that stuff. I am definitely a super saver in my life. I like to pay things off. Like, I paid off my student debt and I paid off my car. Like, I am not into having debt at all in my life, and I like to save money. Grant, not so much, but I feel like that's like in every relationship. There's always like one that's more of a saver, one that's more of a spender, and usually it kind of balances out in the end. But the one piece of debt we definitely have is Grant has student debt, a lot of student debt. And so that's something that together as a team we are tackling and hopefully conquering in the near-ish future. Definitely not very near, but that is something that we definitely have lingering over our heads debt-wise. But it's nothing like, oh, we're like spending more than we should on like clothes and bags and shoes and stuff like that. We just have the student debt thing, which I almost feel like doesn't count, because a lot of people have student debt, right? Like, a lot of people have student debt for a long time, and we really kind of just got it since he started his job. So, okay, here's another one that I got in a bunch of different ways, and again, really, really surprised me. I assume y'all are rich and that you grew up rich as well. Not that it matters, but this game is fun. You're right, this game is fun, but where did you get that? That's not true. Also, I feel like that's kind of a very subjective thing. There's another one that kind of goes with this. She said, never had to work hard, not trying to sound mean. Like, so many people did that, like say something and then like try to like backpedal a little bit, in which you guys are so sweet. That's okay. But she also said spoiled. So I feel like these two kind of go together, because you're kind of saying like, you grew up rich, you grew up well off. Like, a lot of people said stuff like that. And I don't see it like that, but saying someone was spoiled or saying someone was rich, like, those things are like very subjective. Like, someone could look at my childhood and say like, oh my gosh, you're a spoiled brat. Like, your parents gave you everything. And one person could say like, oh my gosh, you had it really rough. Like, you didn't get all of these things, or like you had to work for this, or your parents didn't give you allowance, or whatever. Personally, I don't think I was spoiled. Everything that me and my sisters got came from their really hard work. And me and my sisters were all very hard workers. And I feel like that says a lot about the example we were given growing up. And we weren't really just like handed things on a silver platter. But at the same time, I don't think we like went through our childhoods like wanting things and we didn't get them. You know what I mean? But at the same time, I will say, like, it's just so hard to like manage perspectives. You know what I mean? So like sometimes I hear about maybe someone else's growing up experience and I'm like, oh, your parents just like gave you that? And I think like, wow, when I was growing up, I wouldn't even have thought to ask for that. You know what I mean? So I guess I just didn't really think about it whenever I was growing up. I wouldn't say we were really, really struggling. And I know that through my childhood, there were times whenever their business did struggle, I wasn't ever aware of it. So they were really good at managing money and they were really good at just managing our family life. So I'm really thankful for that. Like honestly, shout out to my parents in all of the ways. Like I'll just say it again. Thank you to them. They gave me a really good example and I don't think they spoiled me, but they definitely gave me a really good life. And I'm thankful for everything we had and I'm honestly thankful for the things that we didn't have too. I'm kind of glad that we didn't grow up rich and I didn't have absolutely everything I ever wanted because I think there's good and bad things coming from both sides. Okay, here's another interesting one. You are super religious Christian and go to church. I would not say that I'm super religious. In my mind, when I hear super religious, that has like a negative connotation to me. I did grow up in church in a Christian Baptist church for a lot of my life, not at the very beginning, but for most of my life. And I did talk about wanting to go back to church in my vision board video. So maybe that's where you're coming from. But I really haven't been to church in so long, except for with my family. And yeah, there is like a lot of backstory to that whole thing too. I just don't see myself as super religious. And I think it would have been kind of crazy if I was super religious and like hiding it on my channel and hiding it from you guys. I think that would be super alarming if that was the case. Okay, here's another one that is about me and Grant. You get overwhelmed by being the housewife, but you're trying your hardest for Grant. I don't think I'm a housewife. I would not call myself a housewife. I did get a lot of questions that's like, you don't have a real job. And I know that a lot of people don't consider YouTube a job or work or anything, but I feel like that's just because they don't understand how much time goes into it and how much work does go into it. Like, yes, it's not hard labor. It's not like that at all. And it does have very different elements to it than a regular 9-to-5 job, but it is a lot of work. Editing videos, putting in the time to plan things out, actually shooting videos, like the emotional toll it takes on you. There are so many invisible factors to the actual viewer that you would never even think about unless you were in this situation. And you know what's really weird to me, and this is totally getting off topic, we don't know what social media does to people yet. Like, I feel like some people have started to like scratch the surface on like what it does to your brain being involved in social media, but like, what does it do to you if you're on YouTube and social media is like your life and your work, and your life is your work? Like, you have to kind of perform your life on camera and give it to people as entertainment. So it's like you don't even own your life anymore. And I know that's not really true. Like in my case, that's not really true. But if you really think about it, like you're following people because you like their personalities and you like who they are. I've just been thinking about this a lot for probably about the past year, and my head is in a very weird place about it because YouTube is a very weird world and social media can be very damaging, and generally we don't know the long-term side effects. That's all I'm saying. And I don't really know how I got off on this whole topic, but there's a lot I could say, but I don't feel like I'm a housewife. That's where I got tripped up like 5 words in. She said, but you're trying your hardest for Grant. Yes, I get you there. I'm definitely trying my hardest for Grant, but I'm also trying my hardest for me. Like, I married Grant, I joined this partnership. Like, both people contribute different things to life to make it better together than it would be separate. And that's why you're married. And so if I can do those things, I want to, and I want to do them as best as I can. And so if it comes down to like cooking dinner, and that looks like a housewife thing, I understand, but he is working out of the house, he gets home later, and I would love to make a dinner for him. And maybe I'm not very good at it because I've never made an effort to cook before, but I want to do that, and I want to do my best at that because I want to be a good partner, and I want us to have a great life together, and I want to contribute. So yes, I do my best at housewife things, but in my mind, it's just contributing to our life. I'm burning up in this room. The sun is shining on me even though it looks dark. I know, doesn't make sense. There are so many questions I wish I could answer. Like, I honestly really genuinely enjoyed doing this video. I still have more to do. I'm not ending the video. I know that's what it sounds like, but like, weirdly, I loved doing this. I loved hearing your assumptions about me, and I appreciate you guys. You guys are so sweet to me. Again, I feel like I won the subscriber lottery. Like, I wouldn't change it for the world. You guys are so nice to me, and I see so many people struggling so much on YouTube with people just like spewing hate at them all the time, and I feel so lucky. And I feel like y'all get me, and I'm so thankful, and I just have to say I appreciate you guys like a million times every video. There was actually one that I got in a million different ways, and I will say this very quickly. I think you and I would be BFFs because we basically are each other, but you're in Texas, LOL. I got that in so many different ways from so many different people, and that makes me so happy because that's exactly what I want, and that's exactly how I feel about you guys. I do feel like I've attracted people that kind of get me on YouTube. Like, yes, y'all don't know my whole life story and all of that, but I feel like you guys accept me, and I feel like that's what it all comes down to, is people being willing to accept each other and making room in their life for different ideas and different people, and I don't know, just like room for fun and stuff like that. And I feel like we would be friends in real life if we knew each other too. Like, you guys crack me up in the comments. You guys send me the funniest stuff on Twitter. Like, I love you guys, and I feel the same way. And it just made my day that there were so many people saying like, we would be best friends if we lived in the same state. That made my day. Like, I know I'm trying to focus on like the hard-hitting stuff, but I had to highlight that. Okay, now we're getting down to the hard-hitting stuff because I need to wrap this video up. There were about 100,000 messages along this same line, but I especially enjoyed this one. It says, Grant is a rich doctor and your life is like Shelby from Steel Magnolias. I just appreciate a Steel Magnolias reference. But to be completely real with you, was Shelby's husband a doctor? Why do I not remember that? I need to revisit that movie. It is an emergency. Like, it needs to happen tonight. A lot of people really wanted to know what Grant does, and I've never specifically talked about it before because I am very like boundary conscious. Like, even just going through this video, you can tell that about me. Like, I'm very like, I don't know, I don't want to like step on any toes, and I don't want to like go out of bounds or put something out there that you can't take back, you know what I mean? And I especially want to be conscious of that kind of stuff for other people that are in my life, because like, Grant did marry me, but he didn't ever decide to have a YouTube channel. And so putting his life out there like that is not really my business. It's not really my thing to do. But by association, people just get really curious. But yes, he is a doctor. A lot of people see him in scrubs and stuff like that, like on my Instagram story or on my vlogs. I still like kind of want to like keep that in and like protect him and protect his life and everything. So I don't like to put out his business. I understand that you guys are curious because you care about us. So I'll say that, but we can leave it at that, right? Right. Okay, next, this one is about like pre-Grant life. And I got this assumption a few different times in a bunch of different ways. I assume that your dating life previous to Grant was really hard and not at all easy. That assumption is absolutely true. It was very hard. It was very crazy. It was all over the place. But I will say it was crazy and difficult and hard because of the choices that I made. Generally, I would date people because it was the interesting thing for me to do in the moment. And a lot of times they weren't people that I really like took seriously in a long-term kind of way. It is a miracle that I found Grant. And I feel like right away I like took Grant seriously in a way I never had ever before. Before that, I made bad choices and I ended up in bad situations, and I can definitely see the part I played throughout all of that. It was a mess. It wasn't good, but I am so happy. I feel so grateful. I feel so lucky that Grant and I ended up finding each other when we did. And honestly, at the same time, I don't regret everything that I've been through all through my dating life and all through my life in general, because now I'm here where I am, having the experiences that I have, that I think make me who I am. Like, I love talking about like dating and relationships and stuff like that because I don't know, I always have. I used to like answer people's relationship questions on Tumblr all the time, and I thought that was like the most fun. I would love to like do a YouTube series where I'm like talking about people's relationships. That would be so fun to me. I know it's like would be something so different for my channel, but I think it would be really fun. That is so off topic. I need to get back to the assumptions. I assume you were popular in high school. And I actually got a lot of these also, and that assumption is definitely not correct. I was not popular at all. And I feel like everybody says that when people are like, you were totally the popular girl in high school. Like, no one says like, yeah, that's true, I was. Like, no one says that. Who were the popular girls? Do they stay in high school? I don't know what happens to them. But I was definitely not a popular girl. I went to 2 different high schools. If I had to categorize myself, I would be like the weird girl. Like, I wasn't like a horse girl, but I was definitely a weird girl. Like, I was just really into like music and movies and doing hood rat shit with my friends. I never, ever, ever had any kind of mindset that was interested in being popular in any way. I was just a weird kid and I was into my things, and if anybody else was like down for that, cool, we could be friends. And honestly, okay, this is like a side story. I know I should not be telling stories at this point, but like when I transitioned high schools, I had friends from my old school and I had a best friend that was at another school, and I really wished that we had moved, that I could go to her school. Like, that's what I really, really wanted, and then it didn't happen. Went to this other school and I didn't talk to anyone for a semester. I was just silent. Like, yes, you have to say some things sometimes, but generally I just did not engage whatsoever. I was just like, I don't need this. I'm cool with like living in my own world. And I definitely did that. And to the point where a few years later in high school, I was like in a play and I was talking to this girl and she was really nice, and she didn't say this in a mean way at all. And at the time, I thought it was hilarious. I actually still do. She was like, yeah, when you first got here and I didn't know anything about you, like me and my friends, we like called you the mystery girl or like the mysterious girl, because I was just like not into it. And it was like a big school. Like, I don't know how people were like noticing me. I guess because I'm so tall, it's like you can't ignore me. But I was quiet. I'm still quiet. Like, around new people, I'm just kind of quiet. I left this question to the very end, but I got this question a surprising amount of times. I assume you have fake boobs, but feel weird talking about it. Yes, I do feel weird talking about it. And that's the reason why I've never talked about it. I don't feel like people really bring it up that often. More than anything, yes, I felt weird talking about it because I think it's weird to be like, all right, settle in guys, get your snack. Today we're gonna talk about my boobs. Let's just acknowledge the fact that that is strange. And I started YouTube a long time ago. Like, things were different back then. And I did it even before YouTube. So I just never felt like it was something I needed to like address. And on top of that, and I kind of mentioned this before, when people come at you with an attitude like, you need to address this, like, I just don't respond well to that. And I've never felt like I owed an explanation, especially when I feel like when you look at me, it's obvious. Like, that has always been what I thought about the situation. Like, I know plenty of people have videos about it on YouTube, but I just never felt like I needed to be one of those people making a video about it on YouTube. You know? Like, is that okay? Like, let's all just have a moment and say, it's okay to talk about what you want to talk about. Okay, I'm just gonna cut myself off there, but I appreciate you guys being here. I hope you enjoyed the extreme share time. You definitely learned a lot about me today, probably more about me today than you have in the past 35 years on YouTube. Hopefully it was an enjoyable experience. Definitely give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. If you liked learning about me, leave me a comment. My channel would definitely appreciate the help. And also, thank you to everybody that submitted their assumptions. This was a fun video for me. I was a little hesitant, but it was a lot of fun. I appreciate you guys watching. I'm sorry it was such a long video. You can find me on social media everywhere. It's LeighAnnSays. I love talking to you guys over there. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye, everyone. Oh, I almost got it, and then I thought too much. Really a huge chop and screw, Fran. Oh, my lipstick looks like garbage. Oh, I'm so sorry. Luna Bean. Garage door is opening and she's losing her mind.